our words must count. Hunger will not wait for promises we made. We share.
Hello, welcome once again. I'm Imran Garda and you're in The Stream. Today, can music help feed the hungry? Internationally acclaimed singer and songwriter Sami Yusuf thinks so.
Understand. We are one humankind.
Our digital producer Ahmed Shihabuddin is here as always looking out for your live feedback. And there's already been a ton, almost too much to keep up with. Hi Ahmed, good luck navigating.
Yes, I'm excited
all
to
of that.
try to get through it all.
Well, joining Ahmed on the Orange Couch is one of the Middle East's biggest artists. He's a household name for Muslims around the world. Sami Yusuf, welcome to The Stream, Sami.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Great. Sami first came on the scene in 2003 with his groundbreaking album Al Muallim. 2 records later and millions more copies sold, he's focused much of his attention on helping those in need, using his music to raise awareness for Darfur, those living through flooding in Pakistan, or survivors of Haiti's earthquake. Sami concentrates on the human good in the midst of tragedy. Now he's working to combat famine in the Horn of Africa. Early on Tuesday, he released the tune you just heard, Forgotten Promises. Every download of the song will feed 2 people for 1 day. Sami, as I mentioned, great pleasure having you on the stream. You seem deeply invested in this Horn of Africa appeal. And as we mentioned also, Darfur, Haiti, the Pakistan floods had affected you and you got involved as well. How important is it for you to use your star appeal, that gravitas that you have, whether you like it or not, to try to create awareness and make a difference?
For me, I've always said this, and I believe in it. Music is a platform. It's a platform to do better and greater things, help people. And this kind of stuff, it might sound a bit almost, heaven forbid, God forbid, kind of self-promoting kind of thing. You've got to be very careful, when you're bragging. It can sound like bragging, but I mean, this is the buzz. Some people get the buzz when they perform in front of 10,000 people, 100,000 people. This really gives me a lot of pleasure. It's an honor to be serving, doing something good, helping people. Life is short, and it's beautiful to be doing something that's good.
In looking at defining you, I came across some fascinating things, reading some articles about you online. The Independent called you, quote, a holy rock star, the voice of Islam. Time magazine called you Islam's biggest rock star. The Muslim website Times of Ummah called you the most famous British Muslim in the world. Which one of those most accurately describes you?
None of them. No, I mean, look, I don't take that stuff too seriously. I come from a musical background. My dad's a composer, my grandparents were musical, my cousins are musical. So show business is not alien to me. And I'm not really into the whole numbers and that kind of stuff. It's nice. It's fun to a certain extent, but you can't take it too seriously because when you get into that kind of mode, it can you start doing things for the wrong reasons. And I'm just really glad I can do something with my music. I can make music that I feel is honest and true, and thank God for everything. All the good things that come along with it.
We've had an avalanche of feedback, Ahmed.
Yeah, but perhaps we'll start with something about the music, since you were talking about the music. This term spiritique, which you're using to describe your new sound. Soraya_SY on Twitter says, what does spiritique mean to Sami Yusuf? Why did you choose this name? And then we have another tweet from Sophia Lille on Twitter saying, Dear Sami Yusuf, do you think of teaching your music genre spiritique? So what is it and might you teach it?
Excuse me. I'll answer your first question. What is spiritique? When my album came out in 2003, I had no idea personally what Anasheed was. Anasheed and Islamic music, I had no idea what it was. So for me, it was just an experiment, doing something different, singing in English with an Arabesque touch, with that kind of using Arabic, keeping it bilingual, it was exciting. So we released it, and all of a sudden, all these different terminologies popped out. You know, Ilahi music, Anashid. You know, and Hasbi Rabbi came out. The second album, My Ummah, which was very successful. People called it. It became a little bit. I would argue it created a kind of Islamic pop culture, Muslim pop culture, what it means to be a young Muslim in the 21st century. And again, people didn't know what to call it. Islamic rock, Islamic pop. So I don't even know what that means, Islamic pop.
That one you don't like?
I don't, I'm not a big fan of that one. But I call it Spiritique. And Spiritique, basically for me, is my music. It's music that ultimately celebrates the human spirit. It's a-religious, it's apolitical, and it has different dimensions to it. Celebrating the human spirit, using Eastern and Western modes together, and ultimately bringing people together. That's what I really want to do. That's what
talking about bringing things together, I remember the first time I was exposed to your music was in 2003 or 2004. I was in a hotel room. I was watching one of the Middle Eastern music channels. So you had Eminem, J-Lo, Nancy Ajram, you know, fairly spicy videos, and suddenly this guy appears, he's singing about the Prophet, and he's talking about good manners, and he's helping this old lady cross the road. I thought, what the hell is this, right? And I mean, previously it seemed as if these musical genres were very compartmentalized. Do you perhaps take the credit for the overlap now, that you can see these, you know, moral, slightly religious, depending on how you want to define it, these videos being plugged into the mainstream channels?
I think so. I mean, for me, I don't believe in the other. You know, I believe in one world, one people, one humanity, everyone together. You know, and everyone is included in my world. In my world, everyone with a capital E is included, and that's my world perception. You know, that's how I see things. That's my perspective on things, and definitely, even with, for example, Al Muallim, there was a debate internally at the time. Should we get Iqra to air it? You know, should we air Islamic channels to air? And I was like, no, this is for everyone. You know, my music is for everyone, and that's exactly what happened. I'm very proud of that.
Sami, you say music's for everyone. As you know, we've witnessed, you know, Arabs and Muslims across the Arab world, you know, take to the streets, demanding their rights, challenging their leaders. We have a question about the role of music in society. So perhaps you can respond to this question from Saudi Arabia.
Assalamu alaikum. This is Big Hass from Saudi Arabia. I got two questions for Brother Sami Yusuf. I'm blessed if he answered any of them. What does he think about the people that claim music is haram, even if it's religious? Second question is, what does he think about the Arabic hip-hop movement that is actually trying to change how humanity in the Arab world is? MP.
Sami, if you don't mind, answer the second part, because I want to piggyback off the first part.
I think it's excellent. I think the shabab, the youth, expressing themselves through hip-hop, rap, in any way. Expressing yourself, I think, is important. If you keep it all inside, you'll implode. So you need to, you know, get what you want to say out. It's great.
Okay, so we'll get to the part about those who say music is haram in just a moment. But as you say, you know, the shabab, the youth, in expressing themselves,
right.
You came out with a song called I'm Your Hope, which was tied into, you know, the events that had happened in Tunisia and then Egypt. This was just a few days before Mubarak had fell. Let's listen to a bit of it and discuss afterwards.
Do not harm me. I am your truth. Don't kill me, for I'm your youth. I am your hope. I am your truth. I'm your faith. Yes, I'm your youth. Do not harm me. I am your truth. Don't kill me, for I'm your youth. I am your hope. I am your truth. I am your faith. I am your youth. Do not harm me. I am your
I Am Your Hope,
Don't kill me.
music video, people holding up these words like dignity, action and the like coinciding with the Arab Spring. You say you are apolitical. This undoubtedly is a political message. I mean, it's a sympathy with political activists. It's putting a message out there showing, support for those trying to change their societies. Do you feel that there is room for this kind of political activism in your career to grow and for you to be more expansive in that respect?
That's how you interpret it. If that's insinuated in any way, it's implicit. This song is about the youth. Personally, when I was, during the Arab Spring, what was happening in Egypt, I lived in Egypt for 4 years, so it's quite personal to me. Experiencing that and following Al Jazeera at the time, it was very emotional and a lot of emotions going through. And I was so proud of the youth, the shabab, the youth in the Arab world, especially in Egypt at the time. And I felt this is a youth revolution. I was so proud of that. The bloggers generation, the Facebook generation, the Twitter generation, my generation. So we composed this song. The day Mubarak fell, I went to Cairo and we were overwhelmed in Tahrir by the youth and the shabab. But yeah, going back to your question directly, I do think that music, for me personally, there should be an underlying kind of message. There should be something there that is benefiting people. It's not. This is just my opinion. I respect everybody else's opinion when they make music, when it's just abstract or when it's just talking about anything. But for me, the message is very important.
Let's stay with that Arab Spring theme.
Feedback, yeah. Many people have been, as you might imagine, asking questions about your views on what's happening in the Arab world, in the Islamic world. From Sami Bitisam on Twitter, the last part of this tweet, it says, "Is it a good change for the Arab world? Should we be optimistic?" And before I let you answer that, let's just add a question that came in via video from Egypt.
Hi, Sami. I'm Amazon from Egypt. Sami, Egyptian elections went in favor of Islamic groups in Egypt. Do you think that affect your artistic future in Egypt and Middle East, or does it makes no difference for you?
So again, that comes back to the idea of, are you optimistic about room for you to perform in Egypt, but also the role of music in these nascent countries?
This is a very sensitive topic, and I'm not qualified. My honest opinion, I'm not qualified to give an opinion on the elections in Egypt. That's the honest truth. But what I can say is change is a healthy thing. Change, I went through change. My third album, my third official album wasn't a revolution, it was an evolution. And I think it's healthy. To change is healthy.
I was just going to say, you said that your third album is about hypocrisy in a lot of ways and about people who use religion for power, which is arguably touching back to the question. I mean, is that true?
It doesn't make any difference for me whether Islamic parties win or don't win. For me, I make music for everybody. When I was in Cairo, living in Egypt, I was amazed by the amount of Christian Coptic supporters I had. They'd embraced me. Oh, mashallah, habibi. And that's what I love, to bring people together. I'm an Iranian-born, ethnic Azeri who grew up in England, married a German lady, and embraced Sunni Islam. So that's a really interesting combination. And I feel I can bring people together. And I'm not that interested in, I'm not interested in politics generally. I don't like politics, including Islamic politics. But I see myself as, God willing, hopefully, as a force to, in some small way, to bring people together. That's my...
You embrace that. You embrace that hyphenated identity. And this is tied into what Has had mentioned and some of the criticism you've had in the past. There are others from within the Muslim world who consider what you do as haram, completely forbidden. A few years ago, Yvonne Ridley, the journalist, wrote this big op-ed against you. She's a convert to Islam, of course, and she said, you know, you were proud of a Britain and Union Jack that is, quote, drenched in the blood of our brothers and sisters across Iraq, Afghanistan, and Palestine. She said, your music is haram, it's forbidden. And I mean, she wrote a lot about how you kind of get young girls' feelings, things.
Did you also read the response?
I did, and that's the. I mean, you know, she said also you get young girls feeling things they shouldn't be feeling, or you know, whooping or whatever it is. But you wrote a fairly classy response. I mean, it was very, you know, nuanced and classy and elegant. But to what extent does that frustrate you? Because it must. And to what extent do you still get that sort of feedback and criticism from people from within the Muslim world?
I think that unfortunately, a lot of people in our community, the truth is, we as I'll include myself, okay? So it's not like us and them. We are in many ways quite uneducated, okay, as a community, not that sophisticated, unfortunately. And there is, I'm sorry to say, a lot of hate, in certain quarters, amongst Muslims, and that language of hate needs to go. It needs to disappear. And I'm sorry, there are many ulama, scholars, who know this, but are too timid to say anything. They're afraid. But the reality is that this language of hate, until it goes, we're not going to be able to show our faith in its beautiful and pure and truthful form. That's my main, and the way I came to faith and religion wasn't through hate. I came through a different route. For me, Islam, religion, is a means to reach God. Okay, as one scholar said, I think Abdul Hakim Murad, I think, the one who said, the new creed is there is no Islam except Islam, and Muhammad is the messenger of Islam. Islam is our faith, but the purpose of this faith is to reach God. It's not, the means and the end is not Islam itself. So unfortunately, a lot of young people, it's a complicated question that you guys have brought up.
There's a lot of
can't discuss it in 30 minutes.
No, I mean, there's a lot of identity politics, granted.
There's a lot of
at
identity
a time
politics.
when, British soldiers were in Iraq and Afghanistan, you're saying you're proud to be British. Yvonne Ridley interprets that as you being a warmonger.
Yeah, but which one of these Muslim countries doesn't have blood on its hands?
True.
This is a ridiculous, at least if I'm ever deported in the UK, I can go to Azerbaijan. Where's she going to go? She's got nowhere else to go. Yeah. So I find it a little bit, I find generally, I don't know how people like Yvonne, I don't want to name her, but I mean that kind of mentality, it's not uncommon. You find that in the UK. You find that in different parts of the world. But I'm glad to say, having lived in Egypt and being in and out of the Muslim world for the past 7 years, that isn't the majority of that's not the majority opinion, mentality of the Muslim world. I think what we're lacking role models. I think we're lacking decent, successful people who happen to be Muslims, not a Muslim identity project. Not, oh, here he is, this is the one, let's all follow him. Yeah, he's the one, and let's just all follow him. That's unreal. That's not practical.
Well, I don't want to detract from this challenging question, and although it's true that there's many people who are probably critical of you, there's many, many more who are inspired by you. And earlier you mentioned you were inspired when you arrived in Egypt by the youth, the Shabab. But we have a question from Ghada Muhammad in Libya. She says, Sami has inspired many. So who inspires Sami?
I'm inspired by people. I'm inspired by the Shabab. I'm inspired by the comments I receive. Generally, when I make music, it has to be about. So that's why I take so long with my albums. It has to be about something. I can't just sit down and think, okay, let's sell another couple of million albums. Yeah. We've got, my career is on the line. I've got to release something. It has to be personal. It's got to be real. And this, for example, this album, this Wherever You Are, is very personal to me. Mm-hmm. It does talk about, some negative things, the darkness in this world. But on that point, just to say something, it's also equally right, Imran, and it's equally true that many people in the West have this kind of stereotype, you know, of people in the East, you know, Muslims, that they're angry and there's a lot of hate, you know, there's a lot of there's this kind of, you know, domination, and they want to force their opinion on people. And equally, what I've found in the East, I found a lot of people who, unfortunately, have this idea of, you know, the word, for example, they think basically in the West everything and anything goes, you know. And that is incorrect. You know, that isn't true. We don't live in
Anarchy.
no, yeah, we don't live in the Smurfs. You know, we don't live in the Smurfs world. You know, with la 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 la. You know, it's like it doesn't work like that. You know, and I
See, we
and
got
it
him to
goes back
sing on the show.
It goes back to education. You know,
Smurf
I
tune.
wish that many of those people that I've met thought like that. They could go to Europe and they could live there for a few years. And similarly, many people in the West could go to the East and just mingle, get to know each other.
Sami, on that point, I want to take the whole West-East kind of contrast that you're bringing up and play a question that came from Lebanon, a country where the West and East often meet culturally and
Yes.
also, you could say, in terms of religions. Let's listen.
Peace everyone, this is Hanan Akhal from Beirut, Lebanon. Sami, religious people in the Arab world seem to be against secularism, but at the same time there are some fears of religious people practicing their religion in power. How can politicians combine between Islam and secularism at the same time, just like you do in your music, combining Western and Eastern music inspired by your Islamic faith? Thank you.
Big question.
Trying to tie it to
When
the
are you going
music.
to talk about the Horn of Africa? Look, you know, it's a very good question, but it requires an answer from somebody who's qualified
Right.
to answer that kind of question. But in a nutshell, I can tell you what I think about, you know, my world. I can tell you about what I believe. Rather than giving an opinion on others, you know, for me, I believe in one world. You know, I don't believe in the other. You know, I've got Jewish friends, I've got Christian friends, I've got Hindu friends, I've got friends who don't have any faith. 'Cause we should remember that as well.
Yeah.
There are people without faith. You know, they just don't have faith. We always talk about, you know, people of the book and Christian. What about those who don't have any faith? So I've got, you know, I mingle with them and we're close and we're friends, and I don't exclude anybody. So I don't want an Egypt. I don't want to see an Egypt. I don't want to see a country in the Middle East that excludes certain people, certain minorities. I don't want to see that. I'll leave it there.
As a final question for the main show before the post show, facial hair politics. This is an interesting one. The Time magazine article said that he may be, you know, he may seem like a rock star, but if you look closely, he's got the clipped beard of an observant Muslim. Arab Media Society academic paper says he may seem like a, you know, good Muslim, but he's got designer stubble of a rock star. What does that tell you?
That is really interesting. But if I may, I don't know how much time we have, but if I may, I'd like to, with your blessing and permission, talk very quickly about the Horn of Africa.
Yeah.
This Forgotten Promises. Basically, you know, hunger is it's a big issue. You know, in the 21st century, 1 billion people go hungry. They go to sleep hungry. And I believe, like I'm sure all of you, that, you know, the access to food is a universal, basic human right.
Hold that thought. We're going to
Okay.
get you to continue that appeal in the
Okay.
post show. And of course, it gets promoted online as well. So
Okay.
the appeal is not gone in vain. Thank you very much, Sami, for joining us. Ahmed, thanks for that. We'll continue our chat in the post show on stream.aljazeera.com. Hope you stay with us. Here's another one of Sami's songs.
It's so hard to explain what I'm feeling, but I guess it's okay, 'cause I'll keep believing. There's something deep inside, something that's calling. It's calling you and I, it's taking us up high to healing. A simple act of kindness brings such meaning. A smile can change a life. Let's talk. And feeling, let's talk healing. Heal and you will be healed. Break every border. Give and you will receive. It's nature's order. There is a
Welcome back to the post show on stream.aljazeera.com. We've been having a riveting discussion with singer-songwriter Sami Yusuf. Sami, I have a picture on my computer here of young Sadiq, who's a Somali boy. You started the appeal about, the Horn of Africa appeal here. On the left, you have Sadiq in the midst of famine in Somalia. His mother managed to get him across the border into Ethiopia, and this is after he was in
5 weeks.
after 5 weeks. That's right, in the care of the World Food Programme. You're pushing this appeal. You're trying to get people to donate, to create awareness. I'm going to allow you to continue with that appeal because this is something that is dear to your heart.
Yeah. There's 1 billion people that go hungry in the 21st century. They sleep, they go to bed hungry, and it's access to food is should be a basic human right, but unfortunately it's not. This picture here is Sadiq, as you mentioned, and him and his mother, they spent 18 days, beg your pardon, 14 days trying to reach the World Food Programme registration center. And he was he had he was acutely malnourished, and he was on the verge of death. And with the fortified supplementary food that he received, after 5 weeks he's fine and he's smiling. And the Horn of Africa is, it's unfortunately it's lost its momentum in the media, but we need to revive it. You and I, and Ahmed, and other people who are responsible, journalists and in the media domain, need to revive this issue. It's really, really serious.
Ahmed's actually got the website there of the live feed campaign.
Yeah.
Maybe you can even speak to this a little bit. I mean, the hand of, you see the spoon, I believe, turning into a microphone.
Yeah.
And then the white hand versus the darker hand.
Yeah.
Again, this is about maybe there's no other. Is that the logic?
There is that, of course, but it's a little bit more obvious than that. Live feed, basically,
Right.
the mic and then the food, with the spoon.
So more literal too, the
Yeah.
live feed.
The live feed is a fundraising campaign that's been developed by the JWT Communication Agency, and they did a fantastic job. And all the sponsors, Al Urud and others who have contributed, have done a fantastic job. So big thanks to them. And everyone's been working pro bono. Everyone's been doing it just for the sake of the good. And it comprises of 3 components. Number 1 being the track. Downloading the track, as you rightly pointed out, will feed 2 people per day. And the second component is donating. So if you go to livefeedafrica.org, for whatever reason you don't like the track,
It's right here.
just go to livefeedafrica.org and download, and I beg your pardon, donate to the cause. You can donate as much as you want. And the third component is the concert in Dubai. It'll be my first concert in Dubai, and it's going to be in aid of the Horn of Africa, providing relief and money for the Horn of Africa. So we're very excited about that. I'm very excited about this project. I think that, it's a bit like Pakistan. When we were doing the Pakistan relief effort and fundraising, we had problems because, the media didn't want to talk about it. Because, I don't know, the politics, they were mixing politics with the humanitarian effort. They shouldn't do that. I think that's wrong. But that's what took place. And I think it's the same with the Horn of Africa, Somalia, and some of the terrible things that have happened there with the terrorism and stuff. but the needs are still there. The media momentum is gone, but the need is still there. The hunger is still there.
Ahmed's got a tweet from Zahra Muhammad, which has an
Yeah.
interesting question over there.
She's wondering if there will be a visit to Somalia, much like your visit to Darfur in 2007.
We were planning to go, but the WFP, the World Food Programme, have basically said no, nobody can go because due to security reasons, because it's really bad. Security is really tight at the moment.
We also learned from our community that you were in Bosnia, I believe, not so long ago, and we have a question from Haris Alisik about this. Let's take a listen.
Sami, a few years ago you were in Bosnia where you gave a concert. I wonder if you could share a bit of your experience from Bosnia. How has it been? Have you had any chance to meet some of the local people and talk to them? And how did you perceive the country? Thank you.
Bosnia is an amazing country. I was been in and out of Bosnia since 2006, and I just, it's that hybrid between East and West. It's clear, I love Bosnia. It reminds me a little bit of Azerbaijan as well. They're Europeans and they're Muslims as well at the same time, and it's a very cool place.
And also, I mean, perhaps unlike some of the other places that are hot potatoes when people talk about, politics, it's post-conflict, but most of the issues are not entirely resolved. So
That's right.
there are, tensions that reside and sometimes expand and contract. What do you think is the role of the artist when it comes to places like that, which are not necessarily going through a revolution, but are kind of frozen in time post-conflict?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I mean, when I was in Bosnia, we met Alija Izetbegović's son, and we were talking about this, and it's really interesting. They don't teach, they're forbidden to teach the massacres that took place in Srebrenica. And I was like, why? Why is this not allowed? And they said, well, because, as you said, there's been this kind of, it's frozen. We just don't talk about it. We have peace. Americans got involved, and just keep it quiet. We've got peace. But of course, it's I believe, an unsustainable situation. Something needs to happen. They need to talk, because you've got 3 presidents, 3 prime ministers. It's a very strange system. But as a people, as a country, it's beautiful, remarkable, and I'd love to go back again very soon.
Ahmed, we've had so many tweets that I've been looking at through the corner of my eye and on my own screen as well, which don't necessarily have a question for Sami Yusuf. But I think in the post show, it's a good opportunity to show some respect to those that have taken the time to tweet in, who are just basically showing you some encouragement and support. Give us a taste of some of them.
Yeah, I'm sure this is not unusual for you to receive these kinds of messages, but live we're getting a response from Hafsa saying, I forgot why I used to listen to Sami Yusuf so much a few years back. Now more than ever, his songs are hitting home. And then she used the hashtag Egypt in Jan 25th, so perhaps alluding to that,
Thank you so much.
that music. And just 2 more. Habtoum saying that Sami Yusuf is modest, and then he uses the hashtag rare breed. And the last one, which I had to, make a quick screenshot of, but I thought it was important, from Reem_SYS. I will donate every month, inshallah, for the beautiful and heartfelt project you've made us all aware of.
God
so
bless you.
your message definitely reaching
Thank you
an
so much.
audience.
Sami, great pleasure
Thanks for
hearing
having
your
me.
thoughts. We're going to thank you properly right at the very end, but stay where you are, because let's take a look at some of the leads we're following now. Ahmed?
Sure. For today's leads, in our lead section, we're following just 2 stories. In Jerusalem, a group of Jewish settlers are cleaning up anti-Muslim hate graffiti from a recently vandalized mosque. Now, you can see here 15 Israeli students from a settlement military school say they are trying to fight the stigma that all settlers are violent vandals. A rabbi from the school said the activity shows that the majority of settlers are against such hostile acts. Now, our second lead is from the US, where federal investigators have a new break in the WikiLeaks case against Julian Assange. US prosecutors claim to have new evidence of direct communication between these 2 men, Bradley Manning, the Army intelligence analyst blamed for leaking military secrets to WikiLeaks, and Julian Assange. Investigators say they have found chat logs with Assange on Manning's computer. Publishing classified information, however, in the US is not technically a crime, but if investigators can prove that the WikiLeaks founder directed Manning to leak the secret documents, it could very well discredit Assange's claim that WikiLeaks is simply a journalistic endeavor. Those are today's stream leads. Quick for you today. If you want to find out more, you could visit stream.aljazeera.com/leads. Cast your votes, as always, for the stories that interest you, and we might very well feature it in an upcoming episode.
Great, thanks for that, Ahmed. Always good to keep everybody informed as to what we're following. Sami, I wish you patience in the aftermath of the show, because the production staff are all going to come one by one wanting photographs with you. So we're going to test that modesty and humility and patience as well. We've loved having you on the Orange Couch here on the stream, and we hope to speak to you again in the not too distant future. Listen to your music. You didn't sing for us this time, except for those few seconds from the Smurfs. But,
but we were happy we got that.
Next time you and Ahmed can have a sing-off, because he's our resident singer.
Yes.
Excellent.
I will harmonize.
Great.
Sami Yusuf joining us there on the stream.
Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for watching us. Tomorrow we talk about bloggers. Are they journalists? Should they be protected by the same legislation that protects journalists? Do join us for that. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.